In today's video, we're going to be testing the latency for the Eachine EV300Os. Now, a lot of people had bad experiences with the previous EV300Ds, but you need to know something. This is from a completely different manufacturer. And to be frank with you, it's basically from Skyzone. It's a rebranding or a custom built one for the Eachine company here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to test the latency on the goggles, glass to glass. And you're going to be quite surprised because they're better than an HD01, basically twice as fast actually. So with that being said, let's get started. PCBWay is one of the leading PCB manufacturers out there, and it is the manufacturer I use for my products. Now, if you're either a hobbyist and or looking to create a final product, PCBWay is going to be a really great choice with their 24-hour and also assembly services. So go ahead and check the links down below. So before getting started, let's go ahead and talk about the testing methodology here. Now, I've used two separate cameras and a video transmitter, and these were the Hakcrc Micro F1s from back in the day. They had a pretty consistent 1.5 milliseconds of latency. Now, here are both cameras inside the same exact box, so we could get a comparison so you guys could see. So if we take a look at the lower line here, this is the point right over here is when the LED turned on. And then we just wait and see a change in the video signal. Here are both cameras right here. And as you can tell, they are very consistent. On this run, we got 1.560 milliseconds. We could say 1.5 milliseconds. So they are pretty consistent. Sometimes they do get out of frame because depending on the pre-equalization pulses, which are these guys right there. And here we see we had a slight variation of a plus or minus 1 millisecond from that 1 millisecond range. And most of the tests were pretty consistent around the 1.5 milliseconds. So now we know that the cameras that are being used have the same exact latency, plus or minus 1.1 millisecond. So let's go ahead and take a look at the results now. So one of them was inside the box and it was connected to a video transmitter, and the second one was right on the screen of the goggles. And we'll be able to calculate the offset as well, and it'll make more sense when we take a look at those results. So all right, so now we're looking at the results. The top camera up here is the one inside the box, and the bottom line right here is the camera that's in front of the screen of the goggle right here. So we could actually calculate the difference. We could bypass the first offset of the first camera in the box, and from there calculate and then add that plus or minus 1.5 to 2 milliseconds. Now the number we want to look at is right here. So as I remember, if I remember correctly, the HDO was pretty consistent, I think between 11 and 15 milliseconds of latency. However, this one is not as consistent, but it is almost twice as fast, I would say actually. So let's go ahead and start with the worst result here. So right here is the worst result, and by worst result, it's still one of the fastest goggles on the market currently. We got 9.8 milliseconds after the first offset of the camera. However, when you get this number, you still have to subtract 1.5 to 2.5 milliseconds. So let's only subtract 1.5 milliseconds. We'll do worst case scenario. So the worst latency I've gotten was 8.3 milliseconds, which is insane, absolutely insane here. And now if we go to the second worst result, which was 7 milliseconds, you also subtract 1.5, we go down to 6, we go down to 5.5 milliseconds. And this could even, theoretically actually, this latency is actually less than that. So let's go ahead and just double check these. So this one would actually be 7.3 milliseconds to 8.3 milliseconds. And again here, we also subtract another 1 millisecond. So it would be 4.5 milliseconds to 5.5 milliseconds. That's crazy. That is insane here. And here, I mean 4.8 milliseconds, again, minus 1.8. Sorry, I mean 1.5. So 3.3 milliseconds could have been its highest latency here, or real latency. And the lowest it could have been is actually 2.3 milliseconds. That's crazy. That is insane right here. And here, 2.6 milliseconds. This is really crazy actually. 2.6 milliseconds. So you know, from this result right here, let's just say it's a perfect world, and it got the camera that was on the screen got 1.5 milliseconds. So we could do 2.6 minus 1.5, and that's 1.1 millisecond of latency. So our latency is going to be anywhere between 1.1 millisecond to 8.3 milliseconds maximum. So it is almost twice as fast as the HDO, if not faster, because this is the worst case scenario. But most of the time I was getting anywhere between 5 and 7 latency without the offset. So you're talking about anywhere between 3 to 5 milliseconds of latency. That is where I was most of the time. I think this is the fastest analog goggle on the market currently. And for the modules, I was using the Rapid Mix module in there. So, you know, in terms of HD and analog, I think the winning factor of analog is the breakup, but that could be fixed with the HD maybe later on. So analog is usually most of the time is going to win the latency race. So for racing, for anything that needs low latency applications, you're going to want to go analog. But most people don't really care. They're just flying out in the field, and HD might be the best thing for them. But in terms of latency, this is by far one of the best goggles. Not only that, the screens are really great, the DVR is really great, and the connection is really, everything about it is really great. So yeah, it's a nice one. It's a really nice one, and you guys asked for it, and here you go. And with that being said, everything is linked down below. Come join my Patreon. I do a ton of giveaways a month, and you get access to a lot of crazy stuff. Go ahead and check it out. If you don't like it, don't join. If you like it and you do want to support this content, you get a ton of things in return as well. And I'm gonna leave it at that, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.